Welcome to the CPTED, or Crime Prevention through Environmental Design. This PowerPoint was set up not only for homeowners, but also business owners. So some of it will pertain to you, some of it won't.
No.
But the short end of it, nice. Okay, thank you. Now you'll have to go through it, right?
Yep, just let me know.
Okay. So generally myself, I'm Holly Sticken, and then my partner is Andy Hamill. We normally team teach this together because there is a lot of information. So I think what I'm going to do with you on how to proceed, I'm just going to go like this, and that's when you'll change the screen. Does that sound good?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, go ahead and flip the screen. All right, so what is a crime? A lot of people think, well, it's somebody breaking the law, right? But for CPTED, the actual definition that they came up with is an act or commission of an act that is forbidden, or the commission of a duty that is commanded by a public law and that makes the offender liable to punishment by that law. So the reason that CPTED was created is because of this next slide. Go ahead. So the old approach that used to happen was it was police only, which would be oppressive police action, an isolated approach. So the new approach, through bringing this program together, which it's been around for a long time, it is the integrated action, not only by police, but government, businesses, institutions, and residents. So it's a collaborative effort among everybody in your community. It is preventative and repressive, technical, CPTED, which is the crime prevention through environmental design, and it's informational. So basically it's a partnership approach. That's what it is in a nutshell. So there's a lot of different components to it. So public perception in some areas is that there's a lot of crime. We get that from watching the news. We get it from reading the newspaper. And as you drive along, different areas that you see, blighted areas. So it's public perception is that crime of all kinds is rising. But in fact, our numbers show that it ebbs and flows. So it will go down one week in some areas, and it might go up in different areas. Okay. So there's 4 types of crime. There's the reported crime, the unreported crime, the unacknowledged shrinkage, and the undetected crime. So we always tell people that if a small crime happens, so let's say that your car window gets broken into, nothing is taken, and you didn't see anything, there's no blood or anything, you choose just to go on. You accept it, you live in the city, so you have your window fixed and you move on. Well, we need that reported because with the police department, we look at statistics, we look at where the crime is happening, and then that's where we put more officers as far as just the general driving around when they're not on a call, which is also a preventative measure. Go ahead. So we ask everybody to help with crime prevention. It's your neighborhood, it's where you live, you're there 24 hours a day. So with the crime prevention, it's the anticipation, also the recognition and appraisal of a crime risk, and the initiation of some actions to remove or reduce the risk. So basically, we're asking you to become partners with us, and by making different changes within your neighborhood, around your home, around your business, you can lower the risks. It's not going to take it all away, but you can lower the risks of becoming a victim of some type of crime. So in the old days, you're going to have to just go ahead and hit, because there's 4 of them. So in the old days, target hardening was what we used to teach. We'd want you to put bars on your windows. We would want you to put reinforced walls up. We would want you to make it very difficult for someone to gain entry. So we were asking you to fortify your property, but things have changed. So you can still do some of those, but make it appealing and make it comfortable, make it welcoming for people to come over. Go ahead. So crime prevention through environmental design. I know you've heard that a lot. I've been saying it a lot. Basically, it's 4 concepts. Natural surveillance, which is your landscaping side. The territorial reinforcement, same thing. Access control and maintenance. So those 4 things play a big part to make CPTED work. Go ahead. So it uses various tools to evaluate the environment and the conditions around your property. So what happens is you will come look at the outside of your house or your business or the apartments, and you want to look at it through different eyes. You want to look at it, well, if I wanted to break into this place, how am I going to do it? How am I going to get away with it? When you open up your mind to that way of thinking, you're going to see where different little changes need to happen within the outside of your home. I know one of the things I had him put on that I was going to talk about is the paint color. So if you have a painted house, if you do it in a light color, not saying white or beige, but in a lighter color, what happens is at night, when criminals really like to kind of lurk around, people will be able to see them a lot easier than if you have like a midnight blue color or a maroon color, because they would end up blending in with the darkness of the color of your house. So certain things that we tend to do actually make us a target to some of the criminals. So go ahead. So law enforcement officers, planners, and architects, believe it or not, when I went through to get my certification, there were 3 people from the city long range planning that went through this CPTED class with me. So even the city, as they bring in new businesses and they work with developers, there are different things that developers need to do that is on a CPTED level to try to make the main areas, the busy areas, safe for the public. Go ahead. So we work with this is where really the examples are good for you on this one, because I'm assuming that the majority of the people that are on here are household owners or renters. So when I talk about landscaping, so you want to look at the proper design and effective use of the built environment that is around your yard. So a lot of us, we love to have trees, right? You don't want to have the limbs hanging lower than 6 feet off the ground. And if you have any type of bushes or hedges, you want to try to keep them between 2 to 3 foot. The reason is that it makes it harder that if you have neighbors sitting out on the front porch or you have neighbors driving down the street, a person would be able to blend in with the landscaping. Tree limbs lower than 6 foot. And then if you have bushes, they can duck down behind the bushes. So if you like your bushes and they're the type that you can trim around from the ground, maybe a foot up, that would be great. I know with some foliage that's not possible, but you want to try to keep it where people, when they're looking at the front of your house, can see if someone is hiding or if someone is lurking around. That's the whole premises of this. Go ahead. So you want to look at the physical part, the social management, and the law enforcement directives that seek and affect possibility or the positive side. So let's say you live on a street that is very dense. There's a lot of trees, there's a lot of fencing, there's a lot of flowers, things like that. You want to look up and down your street and you want to see, do I have, neighbors that are sitting out? Are people out in their yards? Do I know my neighbors around me? That helps because the point behind this is eyes to the street, which is a good concept. You want that perception that people are watching, and that detours the people that we don't want lurking around our neighborhood. So that's what you want to look at, how people interact. Go ahead. So when you're looking at making changes, especially as a neighborhood, do you guys have a community garden? If you do, you want to look at the people that come into your garden, hang out in your garden, and how they socialize in that surrounding. That's the physical and the social aspect plays a huge part within this model. Go ahead. So environmental cues. This is I found this pretty interesting because I never really thought about it this way. But as criminals drive around, they're looking at things that can assist them. And this actually came from convicted burglars, convicted robbers, that they look at targets that can help them actually do what they're planning on doing. So we kind of look at our environment. Is it safe or is it unsafe? If it's safe, then it's a good target. If it's unsafe, bad target. That's how we kind of look at it. Criminals, though, they look at it that if it's unsafe and if it's dark, if there's a lot of foliage, they look at that as a great crime site. That's kind of what they look at. If it's well lit, if things are cleared out, if they think they can be seen, they look at that as a bad crime site. Go ahead. So when you're looking at designs, you want to look at the people that you want to have in your area, in your neighborhood. You want to also be aware of the abnormal people. Those are generally your criminals. You want to think kind of how they think. And then you want to think about the observers. How can you pull people out onto their front porches or into their yards, or just simply looking through their windows? How can you, as a community, be able to encourage the people to do this? Because the observers are also a huge part in this. And you can too, if you have a favorite chair and it's by a window, that's great, because it's the perception that a criminal will have when they're going up and down the street on, oh my gosh, those windows are open, these windows are open, the blinds are open. This may not be a great area to be in. Okay. So CPTED emphasizes several different things. The physical environment, so your yard, the behavior of the people that live around you or in your neighborhood, the productive use of space, so like your parks, any of the businesses that are around your neighborhood. You also kind of want to look at the crime and loss prevention side. That's more for a business. Go ahead. And then the architecture, the only part that I'm really going to bring out on this is your interior and exterior lighting. This plays a huge part. So as a neighborhood, I know that there are programs that when you are out at night, you want to look at your street lighting. Is it bright enough? Can I see up and down where cars might be parked? Can I see who's walking up and down the sidewalks? Are the trees that are between the sidewalk and the street, have they been trimmed? These are different things that can be reported to the city and ask them to come out and take care of. And you use it based off of the CPTED model and the safety of your neighborhood. Then you get your neighbors involved. Lighting has changed a lot, and LED is a great way of brightening up a space without using a lot of power. And what we recommend is the LED daylight light bulbs. And there are now fixtures that you can buy that are what they call neighbor friendly. They point, instead of having the light point outwards, they send it downwards, where it eliminates a wide space just in your yard or your driveway or your front porch, back porch. So you want to look at how dark the space is at night around your house. If you go to Evergy, you can talk to them and they can give you suggestions on different fixtures. And I think the neighborhood might, I know they used to do grants for neighborhoods and apartments. So you might check into that. And that would be, they're located over there at between 17th and 18th and Paseo. So they would be a great resource. Your doors and windows. So you want to check the locks on your windows, make sure that they work. One of the things that I suggest, you can go to Home Depot and get little dowel rods. They can fit on the side of your window, cut them down. And it's a great way to be able to, if you want to have your windows open at night, be able to keep your windows open where someone can't crawl through. You can cut them different lengths for the different seasons. It's a very easy, inexpensive way to help protect your dwelling of somebody cutting the screen and crawling in. There is film that you can put on the inside of your windows that if someone throws a brick, or a rock, your window might shatter, but it will hold it in place. You also, when you look at your doors, the latch, not in the door itself, but in the door jamb, you want to take those screws out and you want to measure to see how short they are. You want a screw that's at least 3 to 4 inches long. That helps fortify someone kicking your door in. Those are simple little things that you can do within your house. The blind spots, when we were talking about the landscaping, you also want to look at where, if you have outdoor furniture or if you have outdoor storage areas, you want to look at, is there a place that when I pull in or I'm walking up to my door, can someone jump out at me? If there's a dark place or if there is a spot where a person can hide easily, that's where you want to clear that area out. The other two are for businesses. Go ahead. So this is for business. You can go ahead and go forward. So lighting. These are some examples of the lighting. So you see the outdoor lighting, they have decided to go, the bottom one left, they've decided to go with soffit lighting. But there are decorative fixtures that you can put on, and you might do 1 or 2 a year, because I know it can be expensive, but there are different things that you can do. Start doing them slowly. The upper part, the upper one in the upper left-hand corner, it shows how if you have lighting on the inside, you don't necessarily see somebody sitting at the window, but if you are looking to target a place to break into, this would be one that they would turn away from because they don't know if someone's walking around in there that can see them. And then the picture to the right, that's an example. There's actually lights on in a house in that picture where they have their curtains drawn and the lights are not very bright. So if you take, and let's say you have a 2-story house and you just want the appearance that someone is looking out, and you have a room that, it might be a bedroom, set a light that's near there, have the blinds or the curtains open, and you don't necessarily have to hang out up there, but it's a good deterrent because the criminal doesn't know if someone is actually up there looking out. Go ahead. This is talking about the developers. They are starting to have to put different things in that deal with, the seating facing out towards the street, their landscaping, the maintenance of their landscaping. That's all things that the city are starting to make sure that they do. You can go ahead and change it. All right, natural surveillance. We've talked a lot about this. improve visibility through your lighting. That's important. You can have curtains up. Maybe look at something that is transparent for you to be able to see out, but not necessarily see in. There's a lot of products that are out there on the market that can help you do this. One of the things that is really important, and I believe fixtures coming downwards that help, is the glare. If you have a fixture that the old floodlights is a perfect example. A lot of people started putting floodlights on the corners of their houses, and they would point out across the back or the front yard. If they are at a certain angle, it's going to glare, and people aren't going to be able to see because they're going to be blinded by that light. So if you have those, turn them on, go outside and look. If you're blinded by that light, then if a neighbor's driving through or coming home and there's somebody by your house, that light's not going to do any good. You can adjust them down so that there's not as much glare. And that's what this is talking about. The big thing that you want to remember when you put landscaping in, what's the maintenance going to look like when I put it in? Is it maintenance that I will be able to stay on top of, that I will be able to do? Go ahead and change the slide. Because it's natural, it's great, and it allows you, if you look at the front porch, people can sit out there, but if people aren't sitting out there, you can form where a person that's looking for a target, they're not going to know. It gives the appearance and the perception that there are people coming out that might come out. And if you look at the landscaping, they have a tall bush, but it's slender. They would need to trim that just a little bit and keep it well trimmed, even though it's tall. You can still see the windows. The picture on the left, I know in some areas, the very tall green bushes are popular. But if you look at the difference, which one would be easier for a person to use as a hiding place, an ambush place? It would be the tallest one. So a lot of criminals, they want quick and fast in and out. That's what they think about. So you want to try to stay away from the real tall landscaping. Now, if you like ground cover, look at, we call it hostel foliage. Look at some of those. I know that my husband got tired of me telling him I wanted holly bushes, but holly bushes, the leaves, they're a pretty bush, but the leaves are very prickly. And if you brush by it, it actually will scrape your skin. So you kind of want things that are pretty, but have little thorns or are prickly. That's a deterrent also. Go ahead. So natural access control. This talks about how does a person gain access, right? You can control it. Do you want people to come in through, when they park on the street, up a sidewalk to your house? Do you want them to pull into your driveway? This is something, people are very physically driven. They're guided. If you go to a park and you see a sidewalk that goes through the middle of the park, then we tend to want to stay on that sidewalk until we get to the area that we want to be. So basically, you're guided through space through a design, also through landscaping. And a lot of people don't realize that, along with sidewalks, of course. Go ahead. You also want to make sure that your entrance, your front door or the side door or the back door, however you want people to come to your home, you want to make sure it's visible and well lit. And you can do that just by a fixture. When you're looking at the fixtures on the outside, you want to make sure that they are tamper proof, where they can't easily just with a rock be busted. I know there's a lot of decorative ones that we love, but make sure that you have a backup plan in case it does get broken. You want to clearly define the entryway. And I think a lot of people automatically do that because they tend to decorate around their front doors. If you have bushes on the outer part or the edge of your yard, you definitely want to make sure that you keep those trimmed. That's just being a good neighbor for those that walk, but it does tend to make the neighborhood look as if everybody cares about their environment. That's a huge thing to the SEPTED. And it's hard to get everybody on board, but when one neighbor sees another neighbor doing something, they may tend to do it also. And that's kind of, we're hoping that it catches fire and it rolls down the block, so to speak. Go ahead. These are just different pictures that show how you can do it. The picture in the middle down on the bottom, that's a planned community. Everyone can see the front doors. There's nothing that is masking where that entry or the window. So people really don't have an area to hide from those that might be looking outside. Go ahead. So public walkways and paths, these are just different ideas that we put in there. Go ahead and click it again. There's two more that will come up. So if you look at the one on the far left, I put this in here for a lot of the city streets. If the community that you live in, the neighborhood that you live in, team up and make sure that the walkways are clear, the trees aren't hanging extremely low, and that, trash isn't around, then that is a cared for community. That is a deterrent to several people, not all, but to several people. If you have your park, or I know Southmoreland has apartments, work with the apartments, see what they can do, because they have maintenance people. Ask them, can we talk about your landscaping, and can you trim it up? Become a community partner with them to kind of see what's going on. Go ahead. So the territory reinforcement, that's what I've been talking about through this whole thing. So it talks about the development of areas and places where you have a strong sense of ownership. That's key, Because if you have that strong sense of ownership and you embody that natural surveillance and you have a great walkway going up to the door, you're going to hopefully through that, it will encourage other neighbors to do. Strike up a conversation with them and tell them, express that you do it because you don't want to be a victim of an untoward person. The physical attributes that expresses ownership, the fencing, the pavement, everything that you do in your yard, that shows that expresses your ownership of that property. Go ahead. And then maintenance. Just make sure that what you choose to put in your yard, any type of the foliage, your trees, any of that, you want to make sure that you can maintain it and keep it trimmed, keep it looking nice. I know a lot of people like to do hardscaping, which is the use of rocks. Think about what size rocks that you choose. Are they big enough that if I pick it up and I throw it really hard, is it going to bust out my window and somebody come in? You want to keep in the back of your mind, if I were a criminal, could I use this? And if you ask yourself that question, you'll start rethinking about what you are going to put in there. So the maintenance is key. It will help prevent some of the crime that happens. Go ahead. So it all goes down to the broken window theory. If you drive down a street and you have a house that's been broken into and they boarded up the window, the house next to it, the people moved out, no one's living in it, it's going into disrepair, people, the owner isn't able to cut the grass, the shutters start falling off. If you as a community, if you don't try to get a hold of the owner, what's going to happen is it's going to catch on. People are going to come in and think this community doesn't care. And so it encourages more vandalism. It will encourage more graffiti if you find graffiti in your neighborhood. So that's why, we try very hard to teach communities about the broken window theory. And not that you're being a mean neighbor, you're just asking your neighbor to watch out and to help the community stay safe. Because really, it is a responsibility of a neighbor to help the community and to help their neighborhood. Go ahead. So security strategies, I know Southmoreland, they have a security company that drives through. They have caring partners, which is great. The mechanical side, some people choose to do alarms. Some people do cameras, which is great. Some people do fences. Just remember that if you choose a 6-foot fence, that the gate is always closed and that it's in well repair. And then the natural would be the spatial definition, the location of windows, seating, also your landscaping. Go ahead. So the 3Ds: designated, definitions, and design. So all human space has some type of designated purpose. If you have outdoor furniture on your front porch, then that's designated for you to sit outside. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. All space, human space, is meant for social, cultural, legal, and so on. So go ahead. The designation is really, it's more for like apartments or businesses, but you can use it if you have a good sized yard or if you have a community park. You want to look at how, if you have a big backyard, do I have kids? Is that what it's going to be used for? Is it going to be used for a garden? You kind of want to look at what the designated purpose is for that space. And then if you move in to a new place, new house, look at each room, look at on the outside, what was this room or what was the yard originally intended for? What did they use it for? And think of different ways that you can change it to support what you want to do. Go ahead. And then basically, this is all really for the businesses, so we can skip through that. This here, the provide clear border definition of controlled space, that would be your yard. And you'll understand that with this next slide because there are transitional zones. There's 4 of them. So you have your public street, right? And then you have your semi-public, which is the green space between the street and your actual front yard. That's all semi-public. Then you've got your semi-private, which is the edge of your yard to your front steps. And then from your front steps to your front porch, let's say, to your front door, that becomes private. So as you are thinking of the SEPTED, you can take and figure out what works best for you and the community. As far as, remember when I said, if you go out and you look down your street and you look at the trees, are they trimmed? Should I trim them? Now, if it's really super high, I would call the city and see if they wouldn't do some trimming. But I would try to keep them trimmed to where it's above 6 feet. So people that are parking or on the street can look straight to your house. Go ahead. So, so after you do your initial, I'm going to look at my house from a new perspective, and you want to redesign and you want to revamp the space, keep some of the key components in the back of your head, such as, I'm going to change my living room. I'm going to redecorate my living room. I'm going to revamp this space. Would it work to put a chair with a table and lamp right next to the window? Would that be a perception if someone was looking towards my house? Would that give a perception that someone might be sitting there looking out the window? It's the simple little things that you can do that will give that perception. Go ahead. So the major benefits, it has been proven that communities that embrace the CEPTED model has had a reduction in crime. And they don't do it by themselves. They go out and they get community partners to help with the big things that might need to be done. And putting businesses that are around your community to task really helps. If you get to know the manager of the place, then, or the owner, a lot of times they will embrace some of these concepts that we've been talking about. The reduction in potential crime. A lot of times that's hard to do. But if you look at it and you look at, you get to know the movement of the people in your neighborhood and you get to know the neighbors, then that reduction will come down because a lot of people will be out visiting. So it does improve the quality of life. It will increase people wanting to come and move into your neighborhood. But it also helps to revitalize your area where you're at, the neighborhood and the community. Go ahead. So this is what I'm going to leave you with, because this is very true. And a lot of people think that when they do CEPTED and they make all these changes that they will never, they will never take and be a victim, but that's not true. So CEPTED is not the total answer to community problems, but it does provide the community with the means to eliminate or reduce environmental obstacles to social, cultural, or managerial control. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Those of you that has come to this, you're taking that first step by trying to learn and to seek out different things that you can do. So you can go ahead and switch off that's the thank you and questions is the last slide. Okay. So does anyone have any questions? I know that was a lot of information thrown at you. One of the things that I will tell you is that Andy and I will come anytime to your house and answer questions, walk around your house, and do what a lot of people call a security survey, but it's a form that just goes along with the CEPTED model that is free of charge. We don't charge anything for it. We talk about different issues that you might see or we might see that you didn't see. And it's just a good way to try to make your dwelling safer.
Well, Holly, I just want to say on behalf of the Southmoreland Neighborhood Association and also, on behalf of all my neighbors, thank you. This has been really good information. I do have just a couple of questions. I think the first big one, in our community, so with SNA, every month when we get together, of course, you tend to come to our meetings and we talk about the safety and security and what's going on. And inevitably, the top item, month after month, is theft from vehicle. And, we talk a lot about make sure to put your junk in the trunk, and
Yes.
It still is happening. And you had talked about the broken window theory. And I can't remember if it was you or who it was that shared that, when these thieves, when they're going and they're checking door handles and they find something,
Yeah,
you get excited and they end up, they're more apt to start breaking into the surrounding cars as a result.
Yeah.
That just, it's that kind of wisdom. And there were like 4 or 5 moments of wisdom that you gave me in this presentation today that were like that. But can you speak to this issue that our neighborhood really has when it comes to theft from vehicle?
Well, I would definitely, as a neighborhood, I would, if you know different people on different blocks, I would really look at the street lighting
Okay.
that is along. I know that I've had different neighborhoods that I've driven down and I've taken pictures at night and said, you really need to have the city change out your lights to LED lights. And the city is slowly but surely, they are starting to change the street lights out. And I know it's a major cost, but that's one of the things that I would really get onto the city about, because a lot of that is the lighting. If people park in driveways,
Mm-hmm.
it's the lighting. So there used to be um, a little, we didn't want to call them gang, but a group of kids that would go around and they would just pull on door handles all night. And if they found one that was open, then they would just keep searching. And, we would have that on camera. So we would turn that to the property detectives and they would be able to seek them out and, take care of them. But I had told you a while ago, we have a yellow thing that if you want, I will come through and put it on the and actually I can ask dog watch crews, our midnight crews, can you put this on cars? um, and it talks about, it only takes 30 seconds to bust into a window, grab something and leave. But if they don't report it, then we don't know about it.
Right.
And that's how property crimes works. They look at the stats. They're part of our meeting every Tuesday. They saturate different areas. And so the other thing that's getting really rampant right now is catalytic converters. So you might put that out to the neighborhood. And it's just not on neighborhood streets. It's actually in public parking lots that they're starting to attack too. So that's something that they've really been working on, is the catalytic converter side of things. But yeah, the campaign of put your junk in your trunk is a very important thing.
Especially as we get closer to the holiday season
Yeah.
and people are putting gifts and stuff in their car, just
And
so
shipments, the Amazon shipments, Walmart, wherever they shop, encourage them to, if they know they're not going to be home during that shipment, to find a trusted neighbor and ask them to watch for it, or ask if they can deliver it there. Because there's going to be a lot of porch pirates, I have a feeling, come Christmas time, because a lot of people are shopping online just because of the COVID.
Yeah. I know that's something that our immediate neighbor and we do together. So we regularly trade off and go grab packages if we can't get to them.
Yeah.
It's nice to have good neighbors.
And encourage, for some reason, and I know it's because Amazon will replace it or give you your money back if it gets stolen, but encourage them to make reports. And it's just a phone in report. They don't even have to come into the station. They can phone it in, but that's how we track the movement.
Okay. That's good to know. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think that Amazon has gotten better about, and the delivery people have gotten a lot better about kind of hiding packages, and
Yes.
they've been really amazing. Seriously, I mean, they're going out of their way to put packages kind of behind things so they're not visible from the street, at least from my house.
Yeah.
That's been kind of nice to see.
Yeah. Well, and just having a box, and you can rig like a lock, a padlock on it, that, you can leave a little note for the delivery when you order something, just put it in the box. But if someone's walking up, they think it's padlocked.
Mm,
And that helps also.
good idea.
So yeah, it's horrible. And it doesn't matter where you live. I mean, you can live clear out in the middle of farmland and people are still doing it. So it doesn't matter where you live. If they want your stuff, they're going to get your stuff.
So for my neighbors on the call, feel free to unmute yourself. You turn on the video if you're comfortable. If you have any questions for Officer Sicken, that would be great. We'll wait just a minute here. I saw, thanks Lindsay for coming. Love that. It sounds like she's in the Volker neighborhood. Love that you were able to tune in. That's lovely.
And yes, the berries on a holly berry bush, they are poisonous. I just use that as an example because I knew that, that's what I had planted. my first name's Holly. My grandma used to call me Holly Berries. So that's my favorite plant.
Are there any other questions for Holly? Or comments or thoughts? I know we've been seeing, the other thing that I know we've been seen a little bit of an increase of is just vandalism in terms of the spray paint that's been happening. And I know you guys have been all over that. But
yeah, there's new things being written every day on the vandalism because Jackson County, they don't want to file charges on vandalism or graffiti. That's not their thing, but they are getting pressure from a lot of different people that they need to start looking into it. So I know property crimes have had a long road fighting for different things that should happen. And I know some neighborhoods have reached out because they're concerned with what could happen after the election on whoever wins the election. We have not gotten any intelligence that anything is planned, because I think word needs to get out that on voting day, there's no way. Now they can predict who might win, but I don't think they're even going to predict it because it's going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks after November 3rd before they're going to be able to do all the mail-in ballots and the hand-in ballots at the drop boxes. So I know Texas, they came out and said they don't even start calculating or totaling their mail-in ballots until the day of the election. And we know how huge that state is. Yeah. So I would just be cognizant if, when that day comes and we know who our next president is, just be cognizant if you see, things going on in the neighborhood, then please call 911. That gives us a heads up so that we can, be on the outer perimeter to, enforce the laws that need to be enforced.
all right.
But as far as I know, they had a big commanders meeting yesterday and really nothing was said at the commanders meeting.
That's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank you again, Holly, for sharing all of this incredible information and for the work that you do every day, regularly connecting and with our neighborhood and responding to all of our dumb questions. And
no, they're not dumb.
Taking all of the reports and we appreciate, that all of the protection and the guidance and the care that you give to our neighborhood and to the community. So okay. Thank you so much.
Jana Lee, ask what my contact information is.
Mhm.
If you want to put it on, or you can put it on your website. It's just 816-759-6313. That's to our direct office.
Okay.
And you have my email address. Over. And if anyone wants a copy of that PowerPoint, feel free. You can email it to them. I always, at the actual class in person,
Yeah.
I give everyone a copy of it because it's a lot of information all at one time.
That's wonderful. So I would say, for those that are on the call, if you want to quickly enter your email address into the chat in the next minute before I end the meeting, I can send you the PowerPoint. And I think as follow-up then, I will we'll also add this to our website, and of course we'll update our social media accounts for the Southmoreland Neighborhood Association with the associated information. So
Okay, great. Well, if you guys want to do this again next year,
yeah,
hopefully by then we'll be meeting in person.
yeah.
So I may be transferring, but I'm leaving you guys in good hands with the officer that's been shadowing me.
Oh, cool.
She's great, and she's as passionate as I am. So if one day you don't see me, I will send out an email to all my neighborhood leaders
Yeah,
to let
please
you know
do.
and give you her information so that you'll have
Oh,
her.
Holly.
I am moving on to the little people. I'm
Oh,
going to go teach fifth graders and middle schoolers.
fun.
So I'm not leaving the department. I'm just going to be teaching DARE and the GREAT program. So
Okay.
try to get the littles off the street and
Yeah.
into summer programs. That's become my passion. So
Well, I'm sorry that we're gonna miss you, but I'm
oh,
excited that you're chasing a new passion, or and being able to explore that. That's very cool.
thank you. You'll still see me. I'll be around because I told her if she couldn't, make a meeting just to holler at me, and I will definitely be available. So because I love everybody, and it was a hard decision,
Yeah.
but that was why I became an officer,
Yeah.
and you are the first group that I have told.
Oh.
So no one else knows,
All
but
right. We won't.
I've been going through the training, and I did it before I became a CIO. So it's you dealing with the neighborhoods have really enhanced what I can give to our future um, adults, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, very cool. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
You're welcome. Yes, thank you.
And be sure to check out our Southmoreland Neighborhood Association website and Facebook page for more information and updates, and sign up for our newsletter. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and thanks again for coming.
Thank you. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.